Hi, people. I'm Dana. I want to share my pain with you, and I would be grateful if you would listen to my story to the end. It's about how I was left alone with a child. The thing is that I was pregnant with him, but I wasn't his actual mother. Yes, this probably seems pretty complicated, so I'll start at the very beginning. I was 25 years old, and I rented an apartment with my friend Lisa. It was a wonderful time because she had been my best friend since college, so we were very close. And things got even cooler when she started dating my second best friend, Jim. I met him when I started practicing climbing. We started out together and immediately became friends. And now he came to visit us often, and I was just happy because I was spending all my time with my best friends. But things started to change when Jim and I started going to different climbing competitions. I'm talking about our connection. It's like we became more than just friends. I think it was because we were working together and we were responsible for each other's lives. This emotional strain really affected us. So one night when we were in the competition, Jim came to visit me in my tent. We talked until almost the morning, and I ended up kissing him, and he kissed me back. So we realized that we had fallen in love with each other, but we couldn't figure out what to do about it. Because Lisa was my best friend, and I couldn't betray her. But my feelings for Jim were very strong, and we wanted to keep our relationship. So we decided to hide our feelings from Lisa until we could figure out what to do next. It was hard to hide, given the fact that Lisa and I shared an apartment. But at the same time, our friendship was a great cover. We could say we had to go to training, but we were actually going on a date at a cafe, to a movie, or even to Jim's house. But I have to say that we had a couple of moments where we almost got caught. One day we were in my bedroom, and we heard Lisa come home. She left work early for some reason, and Jim had to sneak out of the apartment through the fire escape. But at the end of the day, we were climbers, and we enjoyed the thrill. Of course, I had a bit of guilty conscience for cheating on my best friend. But every time I was with Jim, I forgot all about my problems, and I was just distracted by my love for him. And so we lived like this for almost 6 months. But then something happened that changed all of our lives, in a very dramatic way. Summer was approaching, and Lisa had an idea to spend a vacation together. And she really wanted to go to some reserve and spend a week in nature. It was a good idea, and we thought it would be the best week of our lives. But it turned out to be a little more complicated than we thought. Jim was constantly hanging out with Lisa, and we couldn't find time to be alone. And one day I had an idea. There was a small mountain near the place where we camped. Our climbing equipment was always with us, so I suggested that we practice a little, in hopes that Lisa would stay at the camp and I could spend some time with Jim. But she began to try to persuade us to take her with us, so that she could try what it was like to climb mountains too. We had no reason to say no to her, and I was very unhappy that she came with us. So we got to the rock, started preparing, and took all the security measures. The rock was pretty low, and everything should have been really safe, even for a novice. We started climbing. Jim was in front, Lisa was climbing behind him, and then there was me. But suddenly the ledge that Lisa was holding onto broke off. She slipped and fell down. The safety rope was supposed to protect her from falling, but something went wrong, and just a second later, Lisa fell to the ground. God, we were scared to death at that moment. I quickly went down and checked Lisa's condition. The helmet protected her head and her legs were intact, but she was writhing in pain and holding her stomach. We had to get Lisa to the hospital right away. Jim carried her to the car and we raced to the nearest hospital. The whole way Lisa was moaning and saying that she had a stomach ache. Thank God we got there very quickly, and she was taken back for an examination. I almost went crazy while we were waiting for the results. I was replaying in my head the moment when I checked Lisa's equipment, and each time I came to a disappointing conclusion. I was very irritated that she had come along with us, and I could have done the check carelessly and missed something. This led to terrible consequences, and my best friend's health was now in jeopardy. Soon the doctor came out and told us the terrible news. Lisa was pregnant and had lost her baby because of the impact on the ground. Worst of all, the damage was irreversible, and now it was unlikely that she'd be able to have children again at all. It was a terrible tragedy for all of us. We could barely even talk to each other. We just sat at home, looked at each other, and stayed silent. And each of us was torn apart by terrible feelings. Lisa and Jim were suffering because they lost a baby, and now they didn't know what to do. My feelings were a little more complicated than that. I was just in my own personal hell with my thoughts. I was guilty of ruining my best friend's life, and it happened because I was trying to be alone with her boyfriend. But on the other hand, my love for Jim was killing me. It turned out that the guy who said he loved me was going to have a baby with another girl. I was so confused, but we had to move on. Unfortunately, Lisa fell into a terrible depression after that, and I tried my best to help her. She spent days lying on the couch and crying. I tried to take her for walks, cook her delicious food, show her funny movies, and I even tried to share her heavy burden. But nothing could fill the void of losing a child. And soon she broke the silence and said that there was something that could make her happy. She and Jim had been looking forward to having a baby for months. But now that she had missed her chance, there was only one way out: surrogacy. And she asked me to be the surrogate mother. To be honest, I panicked at the time. I wasn't ready to bear a child for them, especially since I still loved Jim, despite the fact that I had just learned that I was a fleeting affair for him. So I said no. And suddenly Lisa became incredibly angry with me. Her eyes radiated some kind of evil energy, and I felt like she was just going to incinerate me at that moment. Then she started yelling at me and said that she knew that Jim was cheating on her with me, and she put up with it because she was afraid of losing him. She wanted to take their relationship to the next level with the help of a child, so that her boyfriend would forget about me forever. God, I wanted to sink into the ground in shame. She knew everything, the whole time. Then she gave me an ultimatum. I had to be a surrogate mom, or she would go to the police and tell them that the accident on the rocks was set up by me so I could safely see her boyfriend, and I would probably go to jail. I didn't seem to have a choice, so after a month of doctor's visits, various preparations, and operations, I was pregnant. Oh, those 9 months were the hardest 9 months of my life. I didn't know that pregnant women could have so many problems. I had constant nausea, my back hurt, I couldn't sleep well, and a lot of other stuff. In addition, my hormones made my mood fluctuate like a roller coaster. In short, I felt very uncomfortable. But I was not the only one who had it hard during this period. For 9 months, Jim was torn between helping Lisa and me. She was still depressed, and he was trying to cheer her up. But at the same time, I was loading him with errands. He needed superhero speed to keep up with everything. But soon he began to get tired. And this led to the fact that I was left all alone. The thing is that I was constantly wavering in my feelings. My hormones made me believe I loved Jim one day, and the next day I hated him with all my heart. Obviously, he didn't have the patience to stand up to me and Lisa. So one day he said that he wasn't ready for this kind of life, and he wanted to devote himself to sports. So he left to climb mountains instead of taking responsibility for his child. This action of his had very strong consequences. Lisa's condition was very vulnerable, and Jim's departure caused her to have a nervous breakdown. She was angry, shouting, and turning our apartment upside down. I thought that in a fit of anger she might do something bad to me too. I literally had to hide in the bathroom and wait for Lisa to calm down. I just sat there and heard the terrible sounds of broken dishes and falling things. When I came out, I saw her sitting on the floor, crying in the middle of a mess. This was the last straw of her patience. Her life was completely destroyed. A year ago, she had a best friend, a loving boyfriend, and a hope for a child. Then I took it all away. Lisa decided that she could no longer live in this city, so she packed up her stuff and went to her parents' house to start over. I don't blame her for that. These kind of tests in life are very difficult to pass. I hope she will be all right and that she will be able to pull herself together and get on with her life. But it didn't make my fate any easier. In the end, I was left alone. A month later, I gave birth to a baby. It was a boy. He was so beautiful and innocent, and I became his mother. Now I take care of him, and I do my best to make him happy. Fortunately, Jim sends money to me to take care of him, so I don't feel uncomfortable. Conversely, I want to give all of myself to this child, because this is the only way I could pay off my debt for ruining Lisa's life.